tell us a bit about Kilimo and some of your traction over the last few years?
Awesome. So Kilimo started as an irrigation management solution, and after several years doing the hard job of talking with farmers and selling them our solution, we understood that the key issue was the value of water. So we started to develop a model around payment for ecosystem service in water, kind of like carbon markets, but specifically tied to water savings. And with that, we have got tremendous traction. In the last year, we have got $3.5 million in contracts from major corporations that are investing in water security, and most of that money goes directly to farmers' pocket, and that accelerates adoption in agriculture. Yeah.
So what is the technology exactly, and are the farmers paying for it directly?
Yeah, so we have a database solution. We think that you can provide a very high level and high quality service just by using the data that is available. But to use it properly, you have to combine and mix that data and do something that's called sensor fusion. We use a lot of machine learning to mix different sensors from different providers, and we sell the technology to the farmers. Farmers pay for the tool, and we also try to be an expensive tool. We think that the most expensive the tool is, the more comply to provide value you are, right? So if farmers are paying a good fee for our tool, they're going to be expecting a lot of value, and that puts us in the situation to provide that value.
But ultimately the idea is that they're going to save money. How are they saving money on their water use then?
So they mostly save money in energy use. So that's called the water energy food nexus. So every time you irrigate, you use fuel to move that water from one place to the other, and that either comes from actual fuel or from electricity, right? Those electricity bills are, in general, our farmers save 3 times the cost of our service, right? So they pay a certain amount of money, and they save 3 times of that money from the electricity bills that they don't pay, or they pay less.
Okay, and then what is you mentioned kind of the ecosystem services and the water savings. Is that an extra way that they make money?
Yes, that's a second step where so what we do is we go to the farm and we sell them the solution. They have to buy the solution full price, but at the end of the year, each year we measure how much water they save compared to year 0, the moment we started into that farm, right? And we do sell those water savings to companies investing in water security near those farms, right? And we share that money with the farmer. The farmer gets to keep most of the money we get from the corporate partners, and that's another source of revenue for them. But beyond thinking about that like a new source of revenue, we think it's a tool that helps us change behavior, right? So I'm 35 years old, and we have customers that have been doing the semi-irrigation for 35 years, right? That's a system with a higher inertia. That's a system that's hard to change. By bringing the incentives to the table, we managed to get them way more eager to try new things, because the risk of trying that thing is lower, right? So the main case is that we have a farmer that asks for a quote from us to buy our tool for 3 years in a row, and he never buys. By bringing the incentive, he said, okay, this year we're going to try it, right? And that's what we're doing with this model of payment for ecosystem service, is that we are bringing the incentive to make the change that farmers have to do, but they're not willing to, because they have already been doing the same thing for many years, and they think they don't need to do a change.
And why are the corporates paying for this? Is this like, do they have a kind of net zero water targets or something similar?
Yeah, they have. The amount of company committed to water neutrality has been growing 35 year over year for the last 5 years. But the need comes from a very different area. So this is not into corporate responsibility. This comes from an operational standpoint. So if you are a big brewing company and you have spent $100 million in a plant, and that plant doesn't get water tomorrow because the watershed is dry, you have a problem. And that's a risk. And companies have measured that risk, and they invest a little bit of that risk into water security. So for them, the need doesn't come from a marketing or PR standpoint, or even for a goodwill standpoint, but it comes from a defense. They need to defend from a risk that is already there. Getting out of water means that you lose your investment, and that's why they're investing in the water security in the basin. And the amount of companies doing that is growing year over year, and demand is huge.
So you made a comment on a panel in this conference today about regenerative farmers and regenerative agriculture can actually naturally help save water,
Yeah.
and that perhaps it's a better metric to determine success of regenerative agriculture.
I don't know if it perhaps a better metric, but we have to abandon this carbon blindness, right? There are three key ecosystem services that are tied together: biodiversity, water, and carbon, and we have to think through the three of them, right? And also that first brings more revenue, potential revenue to the table for the farmers to get, but also provides a more holistic approach of the conversation right now. So what we're doing with payment for ecosystem services is we're putting a price on the extra effort that the farmer is doing, and we think that there is an extra effort that can be captured with water and biodiversity. And it's also a lot easier to measure than a new ton of carbon. Measuring that you store a new cubic meter in that soil because it's more healthy. It's a lot easier and faster to measure. And I know that biodiversity, even when we're sort of trying to agree in what the KPI is in biodiversity, is a lot easier to measure than directly carbon. So we think that bringing a more complete palette of value around payment for ecosystem services is going to accelerate the regenerative agriculture transition. Yeah.
And how have you seen the Latin American agri-food tech ecosystem develop since you founded Kilimo?
Well, we are somebody called as part of the AgTech resistance. Yeah, we have been around for a long time, 7 years now. And I had another AgTech startup before that, so I've been around for 10 years. Yeah. And the ecosystem is booming. I do think that we are validating the value proposition around Latin America, and especially somehow the south part of the world have a big opportunity around climate and sustainability, and I do think the fact that that's sort of tied into AgTech is also accelerating the market. So we're very happy to be part of this ecosystem, and we think that this is just the beginning.